He had everything: money, power, connections that reached the highest levels of the world. Presidents, royalty, billionaires, all within his circle, but behind that image was something far darker, something hidden for years, a secret that involved hundreds of victims, and a system that failed to stop him. His name was Jeffrey Epstein, a financier, a man who appeared successful, at least. That's what the world believed. He built an image of intelligence, influence, and trust, because trust was the key to everything. Epstein didn't come from power. He was born in 1953, in Brooklyn, New York, a normal beginning. Nothing unusual, but what he lacked in background, he made up for in ambition and manipulation. He entered the world of finance and quickly built connections, not just with businessmen, but with the elite, the untouchable, to the public. He was a wealthy investor, a man who donated to science, who spent time with powerful figures but behind closed doors. Everything changed, because what investigators would later uncover was not just criminal, it was organized. It started quietly. In the early 2000s, a young girl, just 14 years old, came forward. She said she had been paid for something that should never have happened. That one report opened the door to something much bigger. Investigators began digging, and what they found was deeply disturbing. Dozens of girls, ages 14 to 17, all telling similar stories. They were recruited, paid, manipulated, and then used. But this wasn't random. This was structured, a network where victims were not just harmed, they were turned into recruiters, paid to bring in more girls, more victims, a cycle that kept growing. And Epstein wasn't alone. There was someone else, someone deeply involved. Ghislaine Maxwell, a socialite, well-connected, trusted in elite circles, and according to prosecutors, a key figure in the operation. She helped recruit, groom, and control victims. This network wasn't limited to one place. It stretched across multiple locations: New York, Florida, private islands, luxury homes, places that looked normal from the outside. By 2005, authorities had enough to act. A full investigation began, and what they uncovered should have ended everything, but it didn't. Instead, something unexpected happened. A deal was made, a plea agreement. Despite numerous victims, Epstein avoided federal charges. He pleaded guilty to lesser state charges and served just 13 months, with work release for many. This wasn't justice. It was a failure, a system that allowed him to walk free after his release. Epstein didn't disappear. He returned to wealth, to influence, to the same powerful circles, as if nothing had happened for years. The story faded from public attention. Victims remained unheard until everything resurfaced. In 2018, new investigations brought the case back. Stories returned. Voices grew louder, and pressure increased. Then in 2019, it finally happened. Jeffrey Epstein was arrested, charged with sex trafficking of minors. Prosecutors revealed this was not just a few victims. It was dozens, possibly hundreds, a network operating for years. But before the trial could begin, before answers, before accountability, something happened. On August 10th, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his prison cell, officially ruled a suicide. And just like that, the man at the center of everything was gone. No trial, no full truth, only questions. His death raised more questions than answers. A man connected to some of the most powerful people in the world, gone. Before he could speak, before a trial, before testimony, before the truth could fully come out, authorities ruled it a suicide. He was found unresponsive. Inside his cell, the cause, hanging. That was the official explanation. But almost immediately, things didn't add up. The cameras outside his cell malfunctioned. The guards failed to check on him. Procedures that should have been followed were not. And this wasn't the first warning. Just weeks earlier, he had already been found injured in his cell. A possible suicide attempt, or something else. How does a high-profile prisoner on suicide watch end up alone, unmonitored, in one of the most secure facilities in the country? It didn't make sense, and people noticed, the world reacted. Instantly, not with closure, but with suspicion. Because Epstein wasn't just another criminal, he was a link, connection point to something much bigger. Over the years, he had built relationships with politicians, business leaders, celebrities, even royalty. His network reached across countries, across industries, into places most people could never access. There were records, flight logs, contact books, names, powerful names, people who had visited his properties or traveled on his private jet, sometimes called the Lolita Express. But here's the truth. Being connected did not automatically mean involvement. And that's where the mystery deepens. Because the full story was never told in court. With Epstein gone, attention shifted to Ghislaine Maxwell. She was arrested in 2020, charged with helping Epstein recruit and abuse underage girls. In 2021, the trial began. Victims testified. Stories that had been buried for years were finally heard. They described manipulation, control, and exploitation, a system designed to trap them. After weeks of testimony, the jury reached a decision. Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty on multiple counts, including sex trafficking of minors. In 2022, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison, a rare moment of accountability in a case filled with unanswered questions. But even then, something was missing, because Epstein's network didn't feel like it ended with just two people. It felt bigger, more complex, more hidden. Over time, documents were released. Some names became public. Others remained sealed. Legal battles continued over what should be revealed and what should stay hidden. People wanted answers. Who else was involved? Who knew? Who stayed silent? And most importantly, who was never held accountable? Today, the name Jeffrey Epstein still carries weight, not just because of the crimes, but because of what was never fully uncovered. For the victims, this wasn't just a case. It was their lives, their trauma, their fight to be heard. And while some justice was served, many believe it wasn't enough. A man with power, protected for years, a system that failed, and a truth that may never be fully known, because in the end, the most disturbing part of this story is not just what happened, it's how much might still be hidden.